All right. So again, thank you so much for joining the Mind Your Money webinar. I will introduce you now to our subject matter expert and our presenter. Audrey Gurira has worked with the credit union for over 11 years, 7 of which were with our financial wellness group. She enjoys helping our members realize their financial potential and guiding them toward their goals. Based on her experience and her vast knowledge, she is the perfect person to deliver on this topic today. Couple quick fun facts about Audrey. She loves hanging out with her 2 boys and her cat, which she just locked in a room somewhere, and loves working out. Audrey, maybe flex for us or something like that. I don't know. Audrey, I'll
It's been a
check in
while.
with you. Oh, it's been a while. Okay, we still love it. I'll check in with you in a few slides for the polling questions and some of the questions that folks might ask. But for now, the floor is all yours.
All right. Thank you so much, Jack. I appreciate that introduction. So as Jack said, this presentation is titled Mind Your Money, Making the Connection Between Financial Wellness and Mental Well-Being. So in today's presentation, we'll be talking about the connection between the two. And before we get started, I'd like to just briefly go over a little disclosure. So today's webinar and Q&A section is for educational purposes only. So final rates and or any products, services, and offers requirements should be confirmed with a credit union representative at the time of service. So today on the agenda, we will be defining financial wellness. Also, we'll talk about, well, a big part of it is making the connection between financial wellness and mental health. We'll kind of go into depth on that. And then also we'll talk about some of the causes of financial stress. And then we'll move into mindful money strategies. I'd like to share a few of those things with you and some tools and resources for that as well. Some of them you may have already heard of, and some of them you may, actually be using, at the moment. And then we'll talk about how we can help as a credit union as a whole, and, particularly this department, financial wellness. And then we'll talk about some tools and resources as well. So the connection between financial wellness and mental health is very well documented. Many studies show that financial stress can lead to mental health issues and vice versa. So that brings us to our very first poll question. So Jack, if you'd like to go ahead and take it away.
Sure thing. Everybody, you should see, you got a minute to respond. Again, these are anonymous, but we just want to get a pulse of the room. What does financial wellness look like to you? Is that definition being able to pay your bills every month? Is it having money in your savings account? Is it C, being debt-free? Or maybe you have the idea financial wellness means being rich. And all these are fairly subjective. So take your best stab at what it looks like for you. We'll let you know what all your fellow attendees thought, and we'll discuss a little bit. So Audrey, what does it look like to you, just out of curiosity?
For me, financial wellness means that either way, whether I have a lot or a little, I'm not stressing about, how I'm going to pay, the next bills that are coming up. It just basically means that mental freedom of, being tied down with your finances. So, whatever that looks like to you, if it means having a lot of money or a little bit, as long as you're maintaining and you're happy with it, it's not causing you stress. That's what financial wellness looks like to me. And that can also change, depending on what's going on in my personal life, so
Yeah.
it can actually change. So
I'm right there with you. I think for me, it's the same. It's the mental state, which is quite on point with today's topic of just not having to worry all the time. We should all worry a little bit, and that's why we're here, right? But you don't want it to consume. So the moment that it starts to consume you is whenever I know I'm financially unwell. So I'm with you there. Great response. Let's take a look at what our attendees said. Looks like a majority, over 50% of the people here said financial wellness to them is being debt-free. Only a handful of people said having money in their savings account, and then one person said being rich. So kind of a consolidated consensus that being debt free is a lot of what people think financial wellness is. Like you said, Audrey, it means a little bit different, or it's different to different people and depending on where they are in their circumstances. And I know you're about to give us a ton of great information about how to achieve that financial wellness state of mind, right?
Absolutely.
Right. Back to you then.
All right. Thank you so much. All right. So defining financial wellness, this is what the CFPB says financial wellness is. It defines financial wellness as having financial security and financial freedom of choice now and in the future. So who is the CFPB? Who are they? So they're actually a US government agency. They're dedicated to making sure that we are all treated fairly by banks and lenders, and of course, other financial institutions. So basically, financial wellness is a measure of how well a person manages their financial life. And like we said, that can look different for different people. All right. And also, as you can see from the last poll questions, financial wellness looks different for everyone. Even though we did have the majority say being debt free, but we did have some others, that said having money in their account, being rich. So, there's that variety that we're talking about. All right. So, making the connection. So 46% of people with debt also have a mental health diagnosis. Also, 86% of people with mental health issues say that their debt makes their mental health worse. So whether it be debt or whatever the case may be, having a mental health issue can definitely capitalize on any issues that you might be having in your life. And of course, our finances are the biggest part of our life. So those definitely, kind of go hand in hand. Also, it says that people with depression and debt are 4.2% more likely to still have debt 18 months later compared to their counterparts without depression. So take the stressors and the depression out of the equation, and you may find that your financial stability, can change. It can get better. Also, it says those with debt are 3 times more likely to contemplate suicide. I know that's very heavy. So, during those times, if you have a family member or a friend, even your financial institution to reach out to help you handle the debt, to kind of alleviate those types of thoughts. But definitely you want to seek professional help, seek therapy for that. So I know these statistics are a bit heavy, but I felt like they're important to share. And part of making the connection is recognizing the root cause of mental health issues. So if you're experiencing high levels of stress or depression, it could be, due to financial related issues. Another piece of making the connection, just imagine having a significant amount of debt and the constant worry of paying off the debt. Of course, that can lead to stress and anxiety. This can impact your mental health, leading to other issues such as insomnia, depression, and even panic attacks. So, in this example, you can see how financial wellness and mental health influence each other and how they are connected. It's essentially a two-way street. So, financial problems can lead to mental health issues, and mental health issues can lead to financial problems. So, just think about, your day-to-day life, what stresses you out, whatever it may be, whether it be, financial or just a very hectic, busy schedule. You can relate that issue to interfering with another issue of your life. So that's how we come about these things that kind of connect with each other.
And I might add, Audrey, I don't know if you have a slide about this, but it'll increase your performance in the workplace too. Financial stability. It's all connected, as my mom might say. But there's a stat out here. World Bank says that 91% of employers see high satisfaction levels due to wellness programs such as financial wellness. So you're going to be happier in your job and perform better, which can help alleviate some of these other mental wellness factors whenever you have the finances taken care of. So just little added bonus to making the connection. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh, no, absolutely. That's a very good point. Sometimes when things are going well in one area of your life, it does kind of cause like a domino effect or a trickle down effect. So, absolutely, I agree with that. Good point. Thank you so much. So, here is just kind of a diagram that kind of shows the cycle. Um, Sometimes it helps to see it in black and white. So, the cycle of money and mental health problems, whichever way you start, financial difficulty can cause stress and anxiety, made worse by collection activity or going without essentials. So just having those things happen in your life, the collection calls and going without essentials, or the constant worry of, am I going to pay this bill, this paycheck, or, am I going to put it off to next paycheck? Well, if I put it off to next paycheck, that's going to cause, a problem here. So at that point, your mental health is starting to be affected. And so when your mental health is starting to be affected because of that, it makes it harder to earn and manage money. And that brings it back to financial difficulty. So wherever it begins, there's always that connection. But a good start, a start to a solution would be to identify the stressors and then begin to break the cycle. All right, and that brings us to our second poll question. Jack, you want to go ahead with that one?
Sure thing. Thanks, Audrey. Again, this is anonymous, y'all. For those of you joined a little late, go ahead and put in your best answer. We had great participation on the last one, but we want to know just a pulse of the room. It'll help us kind of cater the rest of our presentation to the majority here. What would you say is your biggest financial stressor? Is it A, maybe you don't have enough income? B, too much debt? C, budgeting or spending plan savings? Spending plan. D, not enough savings, or E, maybe all of these have shown up in your life through one way or another. So again, go and put your answers. They are anonymous. We'll close out the poll here in a few more seconds. But yeah, just wanted to let you guys let us know what's on your mind. All right. Looks like we've got a majority of the responses in. You guys should be able to see it, but for those of you that can't, the majority said all of the above, followed closely by not enough savings or not enough income. Those are probably correlated in some form or fashion. And then another handful said budgeting, and then last but not least, too much debt. So I would say overwhelming said all of the above, followed closely by not enough income or not enough savings. So back to you, Audrey.
All right. Good poll question. I like that one. I just want to give like a brief example of like what I see a lot of during some of my counseling sessions. A lot of people say or show that maybe their credit score is too low. And when they mention that, I like to kind of bring it back to not really focusing on the credit score. Because a good credit score, of course, we know when you get into a little bit of financial trouble, you can probably go and get a loan or, some type of help, that's going to involve your credit report and your credit score. And so I kind of like to kind of turn that around and kind of show them that, maybe you won't get the assistance that you need right now today, but you can start making a better future by focusing on starting an emergency savings account, so not enough in savings. I kind of tend to try to focus on that. So that way they won't feel like that's their only option is getting their score up to try to get a loan. I like to have them get in the mindset of trying to help themselves first. And so
I love that, Audrey. Yeah, the score is probably just a reflection of all of these things, right? To an extent. If you had enough income, you'd be able to pay your debt, or you'd be able to spend on what you want to spend, or you'd be able to save. And so there's a lot of things that are interrelated. I love that approach.
Kind of taking the focus off of, that particular part and showing them that there are other moving pieces that you can control directly or sometimes, immediately. So,
I think that's a great point. If you guys don't mind me jumping in for the first time here, a lot of times the first thing that people jump to is a loan to try to solve whatever financial issue they're having. And I think it's important sometimes just to point out that that could actually be a little more, and you're just kind of masking what the actual problem is by focus on savings. And personal favorite would be the budgeting or spending plan. Personal favorite would be budgeting. Just those two things alleviate so much financial stress and offer that security that I think we all seek.
awesome. Thank you so much for that. All right, so moving on to financial stressors. So causes of financial stress. It could be simply a personal money belief, how you were raised, how you grew up viewing money, how money was handled around you in your presence. Some people believe, that money was made to be spent and, the whole, YOLO, you only live once, of course money is made to be spent and to be spent. And of course you only live once, but what if you wake up tomorrow? Then what are you going to do? And so, don't let that, become a financial stressor, your personal money belief. Sometimes it's good to maybe look into them and maybe, make some changes. Also, unexpected life events like a hospitalization or accident or termination. Um, for example, things that happen out of the blue that you're not expecting. It happened to me a couple of weeks ago. My oldest son broke his hand. And of course, that meant not just seeing a regular doctor, but seeing a specialist. And we know we know that the copays are a lot higher than just a regular doctor visit. So you have that. He ended up having to have surgery. There was a fee for that, $350. So those unexpected life events can become stressors if we don't already have something in place to handle them when they do happen. For instance, like keeping an emergency savings, staying on top of your budget, things like that. Also, lack of resources, lack of financial education. Sometimes if you don't have any resources or, you just maybe don't know how to do a budget, things like that, those can also be financial stressors. So definitely check the resources and services of your local credit unions and your financial institutions. Most definitely us being one of them. Also, another stressor is lack of planning. So I always encourage my members to stay engaged so that you can properly plan. If that means looking at your debit card transactions for that day or for the week or for the month, you just want to stay engaged. You don't want to be on autopilot, and then at the end of the week or the month, you find out, oh, I don't have enough money for this, or I should have done this. So definitely stay engaged so that you can plan for the what ifs and things like that.
Yeah, Audrey, I think these are such great points because when we talk about the financial stressors, as we did in the survey, those are kind of more of the symptoms, right? We have the high debt or lack of savings and those kinds of things. If these that you're talking about here are really the root cause of those, and especially personal money beliefs. I think from counseling and me as well, as you're counseling people, their priorities are so different how they feel about money. For some people, it doesn't matter how little money they make or how little money they have at the end of the month. They are going to pay their tithes every month, which is great. But that's going to vary from somebody else who is going to prioritize, making credit card payments or whatever else it is. Those personal money beliefs can be a source of that. I know I've worked with people who again, weren't making enough money for their own personal expenses, but it was important for them to be able to help pitch in a certain amount of their paycheck to their family. They kind of had like a family fund that everybody pitched into, and there was no negotiating that. We have to really kind of examine those personal money beliefs and how they could even be the source of the financial stress that we're experiencing. These are all great points.
Absolutely. All right. So now's the time for questions. Jack, do you want to jump in there, see if there's any questions?
Sure, let's see. I know, we've kind of set the stage, so to speak. So I don't know if we have too many questions, but I do want to just pause and encourage anyone that has questions that may help one of your fellow attendees, anything like that. Go ahead and volley those up in the Q&A queue. For those of you on a PC, it's in your bottom right-hand corner. For those of you that are joining us from a mobile device, you may have to swipe left or right for the Q&A feature. At this time, Audrey, don't see any questions popping up yet, but we do have some time, everyone, to answer questions you might have at the end. I know we've still got a lot of material to cover here, so for the time being, Audrey, I think it's back to you. Unless, Jamie, do you have any questions for Audrey?
I guess my one question would be, Audrey, since you have been a counselor here for a few years, what do you find to be maybe the most challenging stressor with the members that you talk about, or what do you see the most often?
Most often is their credit score and report, because usually when they get into a little bit of financial trouble, their first the first thing that they reach for is some type of loan. And and sometimes they don't qualify. So that becomes a huge stressor for them. So did that answer your question?
It did.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, you're welcome. All right. Any other questions?
That's it, Audrey. Back to you.
All right. So now we come to fight or flight. How do you respond? That's going to be different for everyone, but I do have a few here that we can talk about. So do you deal with the stressor head on? Just deal with it. That may look like answering the phone whenever the creditors call. If you're dealing with, something of that nature, it could mean, opening those statements and looking at them. You're facing it head on instead of just throwing it to the side and saying, I'll just look at it later. Seeking solutions. That could mean making an appointment with a financial wellness counselor to see, how they can help, guide you, and how to, deal with it head on. So those are, a few fights. You answer the phone call, you open that mail, you make your appointment with your financial wellness counselor. If you've already done that, you make sure you have follow-ups, things like that. Just, kind of staying diligent, with your daily and monthly and weekly spending. That's dealing with it head on, instead of kind of going on autopilot. And then you look for solutions, when there's a fire, so you definitely want to, kind of analyze how you respond to, your financial stressors. So on to flight. A lot of times we tend to ignore what we deem to be the problem or the issue or the stressor. Kind of ignoring the problem and then continuing the negative behavior. And so vice versa, when we talked about the fight where you deal with it head on, flight could mean if you see your creditors calling, you don't answer the phone. When you see that mail or a collection letter or just even your statement and you just don't want to face head on, how you spent money the past month, that could be an indicator of a flight that, you don't want to handle the situation that is at hand. So So yeah, so those are some different examples of fight and flight. Jamie, do you have any examples of fight or flight?
Yeah, I would say, these are the two kind of natural responses to any type of stressful situation, right? And here's the thing, when we fight and we face that situation, that's going to lead to the alleviation of stress. So that is, creating your plan, whether it be a debt payoff plan, a spending plan, a savings plan, whatever that is, having a plan for how you're going to get out of the situation and then working towards it, right? Working plans so that you're dealing with it. The flight response is going to lead us to additional stress, right? We avoid it, we keep our head in the sand, ignore it, we maybe continue bad habits. We want to replace that stress with something that does make us feel good. So maybe we're going out shopping when we really should be using that money to pay a bill or something like that. Or we're going to the casino or having a spa day when we can't afford to do that. Um, so that continuing that kind of behavior is just going to lead to additional stress. And at some point, we have to decide that we're going to stop fleeing and actually fight.
Right. Absolutely. Thank you so much for that.
And I'm going to add one more thing too. I've heard a lot of people, it's not just fight or flight sometimes. Sometimes there's the concept that I've heard thrown around, which is freeze. It's a form of flight in a way, but it's just saying, all right, I'm not going to do anything. Like, it won't get worse. I'm not going to fight it. I'm not going to make it better. But if I do nothing, like if I don't run away, then things will just kind of maintain. And that's not always the case either. So I just want to throw that out there. Some people might associate flight with freeze, but in itself, it may be something different.
Yeah. Good one. Yeah. Sometimes you do just freeze in any situation. Okay. All right. So that brings us to our next poll question. Jack, you can go ahead.
Indeed. This one's a little different, y'all. So we're going to give you 2 minutes or so to respond. Again, these are not individual answers that we're going to share. But we want to know, like, do you have tips on how you cope with stress, whether it be financial stress or otherwise? What are some things you might do? Go grab a drink? Do you pray? Do you do you talk to a friend? What is kind of your coping mechanism when it comes to stress? So it should pop up for you again, bottom right-hand corner for those of you on a PC. If you're on a mobile device, y'all, you may have to swipe left or right to present that response. And while y'all are doing that, Audrey, I don't know if you have on the next slide some tips, or if you just want to talk about it, about coping with stress, what you do or what I might do or anything along those lines.
Some of these things I've done myself. Some of these things I've also recommended to members, friends, and family. You definitely want to seek guidance from a professional, both on the mental and the financial side. If you feel like your, mental issues or you're not able to cope comes from your financial situation, then by all means, definitely reach out to us, in financial wellness, and we can help you get on a good path, give you a little roadmap, a list of things to do first, what to do second, and then maybe a follow-up in between. A lot of times that helps when they feel like they have someone going through it with them. Also, I just tell them to think positive. Also, focus on the things that are going well and capitalize on those victories and what you did to achieve them, and see if those things that you did to achieve those victories, see if they can be incorporated into your financial life. And so, some of the things, some of our strategies in life can sometimes be, put over into the financial side. So that's what I do. Whatever you did to make things work, try it on the financial side, capitalize on those things.
Good to know. Appreciate those insights. You want to hear what everybody else said?
Absolutely.
All right. I kind of like this first one. Self-care, like a bubble bath or reading a book. Love that. A lot of people said, pray. Somebody said discuss with spouse, their family members and or friends. A lot of people said that. Somebody said they don't stress at all, and they believe in the prayer and the serenity to accept things. and that sometimes it's just out of their control. And then somebody said, as far as finances go, take a step back, view the budget or the spending plan. Jamie, I know you love that response. So yeah, those are just some tips or some ways that those in attendance here today deal with their stress. But I know you're gonna probably elaborate a little bit more on what else we might be able to do, right?
Absolutely. Those are all really good.
They are.
Those are really good. So we'll talk about a couple of mindful money strategies. So of course you want to set clear financial goals. Pick one or two things to focus on. I always tell my members, some come in, with more collections than others, or, things like that, or, things that have a long list of things that have high balances, things like that. I try to kind of break it down for them, and just say, okay, I know you have, this situation going on, but let's focus on one or two areas or one or two accounts that you feel like you could have success the quickest. And usually that's the debt that has the smallest balance. So we'll start there and start working on those things. So any extras will go towards those smaller balances, getting those paid off faster. You get a victory a lot quicker. You use that momentum and just ride it on up and just keep going. So definitely picking one area to focus on and setting a clear goal. Also create a savings and spending plan. So that would entail just knowing your ins and outs. So that way you can get a clear picture of what your savings potential actually is. Because before you do that, I mean, with anything, it's kind of like, walking in a dark room. You don't know what's in there. You don't know what's going to happen. And so whenever you create a savings and spending plan, when you know what you have coming in and you know exactly what's going to be going out, that way you know what's left over and yes, I can do this, or no, I can't do that, And so I really like to focus on that as well. Also, that kind of ties hand in hand with establishing an emergency savings. So you may get that paycheck and compare it with your bills, and you may feel like, okay, I don't have enough to even start an emergency savings. But if you haven't documented your ins and outs and what's left over, you really don't know that. You can, well, not always, but 9 times out of 10, I find members where they're able to find money that's in their budget, like just for an example, if you're facing financial difficulty and you're working a lot of overtime, well, in your budget, since you're going to be working a lot of overtime, maybe something that can be eliminated might be a gym membership. Maybe, bump it down to the lower plan, or, maybe a cable package. You're going to be working so much overtime, you may not feel like you're getting your money's worth out of that cable package deal or whatever. And so that's an area where you could maybe cut back and, find money to actually save. And then the last one is plan for retirement. So you definitely want to utilize company-sponsored retirement and insurance plans that we do have available. I do know that the company does sponsor a 401k, and they match up to 100%, I believe. I want to make sure I say it right. Up to 100%, up to 5.5%. So if you are contributing 5.5% to your 401k, the company will also contribute that exact amount.
And I just want to throw out, it is different for all employers or employee groups, but for most of American Airlines mainline, that is the case. So regardless of where y'all are at in your career or your retirement or anything along those lines, it's just incredibly important that you do plan for retirement. If you don't even have a 401k, you can, and you are working, you can look at IRAs as a solution. There's so many ways. And quick plug, we do have a group of financial advisors that can assist you with that through our flagship financial group. They are free to visit with. So again, if that piques your interest and you need some help in planning for long-term investments, retirement, strategies along those lines, let us know on the survey and we can connect you with someone.
Absolutely. So often take time to do a self check-in. As often as you feel like you need to. Ask yourself about your finances for the past day. If you have to do it daily, that's fine. Ask yourself about your finances for the past day, week, or month. And then just ask yourself, could I have done better? If so, point out those areas to yourself and then work on them the very next day or the next week or the next month, however you do your budgeting. All right, some more mindful money strategies. We talked about seeking therapy. Also, meditate is a big one. It's kind of new. And me and Jamie were talking about this earlier. I think she mentioned that she participated in a meditation activity that we have on the Navigator. It's under the tab that says mindfulness, or is it just mindful?
I think it's mindfulness. Mhm.
Okay. So do you want to
Yeah, I
kind of
thought.
tell us briefly about your experience with that?
Yeah, so I was in the Navigator, just kind of hunting around, seeing what was new, and found the mindfulness tab. And I saw the meditations, and I'm like, money meditations. That sounds kind of silly. What could this be? And so I decided to do one, just so I would know what it was about, and it was actually pretty cool. So it gives you a topic. The one that I listened to was on inflation and or the state of the economy. And it just kind of gives you a little lead in on like what it is and how it might be affecting you. And then it gives you some like breathing tips and kind of just allows you to hone in on your body and relax. And then it kind of guides you through like thinking about how it can affect you and how you could potentially solve that. And then, leads you right out of it. And I found it really interesting because it was a way to take something that is kind of stressful but help you feel relaxed as you work through it. So, I don't know. I thought it was really interesting, and it really kind of showed me how just like I would take time to either pray or meditate about other things, that it does actually apply to finances as well, because it's sometimes in those quiet moments that we find the solutions, not when we're stressed out and kind of in the panic mode.
So yeah, so definitely, try meditating before taking on a financial task like budgeting or paying bills. Just, kind of think about how you will approach it. And I believe, taking the little meditation activity can help out with that as well. Maybe you'll get some ideas. Um, and then aside from that, just, kind of just know with practicing money mindfulness, and setting clear financial boundaries, just think about it like this. Every card swipe is a negative or a positive. It's either going to hurt you or it's going to help you. And so just think about it. Is this going to hurt me or help me later? And so also boundaries are, it can mean sometimes making a sacrifice. It could mean, not getting or buying the things that you always buy when you go to the grocery store, things like that. So, all right. So some more money strategies, staying on top of your finances. So you want to review your credit reports. Reasons for that would be just to kind of keep it in the forefront of your mind, of what those balances are, what your minimum payments are, what your limit is, compare your limit to your credit, to your balance. It kind of helps keep things in the forefront of your mind. I used to pull my credit report, well, not pull it, but I used to look at it every day, and I used to always refresh the score every 24 hours when they allowed it, just to kind of see what I was doing on a daily basis. And I tried to compare that to the movement of my score, just to, just for educational purposes, just to kind of get a good feel of, how things worked and, how they're all connected with your spending and your credit score. And so I did that. And then also another good one is analyze monthly spending plans. definitely want to do that. If you have it written down in your own handwriting, that definitely helps. I have a personal experience with writing it down in my own handwriting and going back, checking things off or marking things off the list. I'm telling you, I don't know what it is. It's a mental thing, but it definitely helped me. But, whatever you have now, whatever is working for you, if it's working, by all means, keep doing it. But definitely try writing things out in black and white in your own handwriting and going back to that list and keeping it in a safe place. Um, Also, reconcile accounts. Definitely comes into play when you're talking about staying on top of your finances. You want to make sure that the purchases that you've made throughout the day or the week or the month, you just want to make sure that it matches with what your bank or credit union has. You want to make sure that those pending or those transactions that say processing, you want to make sure that they actually came out and not, come out at a later time when you were not expecting it. Also, reduce debt. Practice the pause, you know, um, come back to something and see if you still feel the need to purchase it. Um, Also, develop good spending and savings habits. We talked about that. Um, that could mean, making a list when you go to the grocery store and making sure that you stick to it, that you don't, deviate from that and, buy something just because it's on sale, that can sometimes be a budget killer. And so staying on top of your finances in that way definitely helps. Um, the next one that I see, I hate to say I see a lot of this, but unfortunately, I do see a lot of payday loans. Um, that could be an indicator that maybe staying on top of your finances has kind of taken second priority to something else. But you definitely want to avoid payday loans and staying on top of your finances, making a budget, seeking help from a financial wellness counselor, things like that can definitely help you avoid payday loans. Use of service provider referrals. We do offer a lot of those here if there's something that's kind of maybe outside of our scope of assistance. We do provide outside referrals to different agencies. It's actually a website. It's called findhelp.org. I use that a lot. It has tons of referrals and different places for assistance for many different things, not just financial. But again, most everything does tie back into finances. So whether you need gas to get to work, money for rent, food assistance, all those things are kind of tied to helping you stay on top of your finances because we know food costs money. So and then last but not least is an emergency share account. Can't stress that enough. So just opening that and actually sticking to it and putting money into it can alleviate, the burden of a financial stress. Because in your head, if something happens, you currently and actively have money, maybe not enough, but you know that you're doing something to help a situation if a situation like that were to arise. Just that alone, just knowing that you're putting, even if it's just $5 a paycheck, that alleviates some stress. Just knowing that if something happens, you're actively doing something in the moment to minimize the impact on your mental health and your financial well-being.
Hey, Audrey, I got two more quick follow-up points, if you don't mind.
Sure, go ahead.
I'm one of those that I look at my transactions, virtually everything financially related daily. And that works for me. And that helps me to alleviate any type of mental anguish. But there's the other side of things where someone that looks at it constantly becomes almost obsessive, becomes overly overwhelmed by seeing bad news all the time. So I just want to throw out there, while it is important that you are cognizant of everything, there's a balance, and that's a very personal balance. So I just wanted to throw that out for those of you that were thinking, oh my gosh, I have to check my checking account every day, or I have to check my credit score all the time. That doesn't necessarily work for everyone, but being aware and layering that with developing good spending and saving habits and making sure that what you are looking at is correct. And that goes back to the reconciling accounts. Again, just wanted to throw that out there for those that may need to hear it. The second thing is related to the emergency share account. You mentioned that that can help alleviate a lot of mental stress as well and increase your mental wellness. A lot of experts will say start with $1,000 before you start paying off any kind of your massive debts or anything like that. And even that can be overwhelming for a lot of people. But go back to the old adage: how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So like you said, Audrey, $5, $20, whatever you think you can afford to get to that peace of mind that you get from an emergency share account, it's going to help you on down the road. With the long-term goal of what most experts say you should strive to, and correct me if I'm wrong, y'all, 3 to 6 months of your take-home pay is your end goal. But we also understand, and experts understand, that you're never going to get there if you're just constantly getting hit over the head with debt. So maybe you have something to add about the emergency share account, Audrey or Jamie, but I've always, gone with the $1,000 first, work on your debt, then with the long-term goal of 3 to 6 months. And if you chunk it out like that, it's a little bit more approachable, and again, helps to reduce that mental anguish.
Mhm. Yep, I agree with you, Jack. It does sound very overwhelming if you're thinking 3 to 6 months of your income. And for many people, even $1,000 is overwhelming. So I'd say start with what you can. If your first goal is $100, then you try to work to $500, then you work to $1,000, whatever it is, that makes it easier for you to swallow, and know that things are going to happen along the way. So you're going to maybe get up to 500 and your tire is going to go flat and you've got to replace it. And then half of it is wiped out, right? And that in itself can feel stressful and a little bit defeating. But I want to challenge you to keep in mind that if you're in that situation where you've had to dip into the emergency savings, that's actually the blessing, right? Like you've done what you're supposed to do, and that's what it's there for. So don't allow the fact that you've had to dip into it stress you out. Let that actually be the de-stressor that you had it. And I'm telling you from experience, from someone who didn't have an emergency fund, who had lots of debt and is now kind of on the other side of that, that was probably the biggest stress reliever that I had, was just having that emergency fund in place.
Yeah, absolutely. Can alleviate a lot of stress. Even if you don't have the amount that's recommended or the amount that you want, just knowing that you are actively building towards that in itself can alleviate some stress. So, all right. Thank you guys so much for that input. Moving on. So I'd like to close out, brief closing, with a quote from Susie Orman. Financial freedom is having your heart and mind free of worrying about the what ifs of life. That's her definition of financial freedom. But of course, like we said, that looks and sounds different for everyone. But to sum it up, that's it. Because really, I don't want to say life is all about money, but it's really a big part of life. And so not having to worry about that is a great feeling.
I think this quote is one of my favorite financial quotes, just because it really does hit home to that it's not about one specific thing, right? It's not about you being wealthy. It's not about not having any debt at all. It's not about those little individual things. It's just about having the freedom to not worry about it. And ultimately, that's his goal. The individual, goals in there are going to be different for everybody, but I think everybody's goal is going to be just to not have to worry, and that's financial freedom.
Agree. All right. So a few tools and resources that we offer. Our website that tells a little bit about what we do. That's financialwellness.aacreditunion.org. You can also go there to request an appointment to speak with a counselor. Also the navigator.aacreditunion.org. That is where we talked about briefly, where you can find those meditation, the mindful activities, which will lead you into the meditation and the different topics for meditation. You can find that there. And then, of course, the online banking app that's available anytime. There's some tools there. Also, the credit score and report. You can find that under the financial wellness tab whenever you do log into your online banking. And to find that, it's going to be under credit score and report. And that's where you'll get to look at your credit score and your report. All right. And so some other tools and resources with the Financial Wellness Department. We do offer certified credit union financial counselors. I'm one of them. Jamie used to be one. She's a manager now. Also, experts in financial assistance for bruised credit situations. So we'll go over your credit report and score with you, identify things that may need your attention, well, that will need your attention, things that you can do to help your credit score short-term and long-term. So we kind of help out in that situation as well. Advanced financial indebtedness solutions assistance. That may mean referring to an outside agency if your debt is a little more than what we can assist you with. Also, continuous accountability, support, and guidance. We do like to schedule follow-ups, lots of them. We do like to follow along to, throughout the financial wellness journey, just to make sure that you have someone with you to answer questions. When you hit those success marks, we may need to, take our guidance in a new direction, things like that. So we definitely like to schedule follow-ups and things like that, just to, be with you throughout your journey for guidance. Also, we offer educational seminars and webinars throughout the year, and this would be one of them. And I'm sure some of you attendees have probably attended some ones in the past. And then how we can be reached. We can be reached at our phone number, 833-FINWELL or 833-346-9355, or by emailing the department, financial wellness at aacreditunion.org. All right, and that is all I have as far as financial wellness and the presentation. Jack, I believe you have some information that you're going to share with them as well.
Absolutely. Thanks, Audrey. And we'll rehash a couple of these things of how you can reach out and get more guidance, resources, et cetera. But before we do that, we talked a lot about financials or finances and how they affect your mental wellness. That can apply to you, or maybe you have a family member that's in need of a little different help. Maybe they need to meet with Audrey or anybody from Jamie's group. Best bet is to let them become a member first. So we're throwing this out there. If you're not yet a member, if you have a family member who's not yet a member, tell them to scan this QR code or go to aacreditunion.org to learn a little bit more about us. Whenever they apply, if you or they use promo code BD4412 at the very end of your online application, we'll take care of the opening deposit. Again, this applies to direct family members, everywhere from grandparents on down to kids and or roommates, as well as any coworkers in the air transportation industry that you might have. Be remiss if I didn't tell you a few of our offers, which may help to absolve yourself of some mental stress from finances. The first thing that I want to highlight here is for those of you who are already members and want to refer your family members, we'll pay you $25 for referring them. You can find out more information on that as well as our other offers at aacreditunion.org/offers. We also have some other perks associated with auto, with new checking accounts. And then above all, I want to highlight, especially because this is one of the questions we have in our Q&A, that our financial wellness team, say if you wanted to set up an appointment with Audrey or one of her coworkers, it is a free service, y'all. Some of our best member stories come out of the lives that they've transformed by just being there for them, helping them create a spending plan, helping them to seek other resources, things of that nature. So again, if you or anyone you know need a little extra help, this is a free service of our credit union. So be sure to check them out. We do have a few questions. We got another couple minutes. Audrey, you ready?
Sure am.
All right. So I kind of addressed it, but, and I know Jamie responded, is there a fee to meet with a financial counselor such as yourself?
Absolutely not. It is a free service that we provide to all of our credit union members. And even if you know someone who needs help and they are not a member, we will do one session with them, one brief session. It's not a full session, but we don't like to turn anyone away. But if you know someone who needs assistance, definitely refer them to us. And hopefully they can become a member and get the full service.
Awesome. Thanks for that. Just a comment, wanted to get your thoughts on it. Somebody said that the de-dollarization, cryptocurrency, diversifying, investing in other things can help to be prepared for what might be coming on down the line as far as the economy goes and things like that. Any comments on that?
I would say just make sure that it's not something that's going to cause a financial struggle.
Mhm.
You know, I wouldn't like not pay bills, and go and invest somewhere or something, you definitely want to plan for it.
Yes.
Any financial choices that you make, whether it's gonna, even if it's going to help you, you still do want to plan for it, because without a plan, you're essentially setting yourself up for failure. So,
Awesome. I agree. Yeah, it's all about the planning and feeling comfortable mentally with your plan. Last question here. Do you assist with 401ks and or what to invest in?
we actually do and we don't get too in depth with investments, because we do have a fabulous flagship financial group that, can help out with that. But I do mention it to my members, if you have a 401k plan that you can invest in, I definitely recommend it. But anything further, in depth with other investments, I always do refer them to Flagship Financial Group.
Excellent. And I went ahead and threw in the response on our Q&A there, the website where they can go. For those of you that just go to aacreditunion.org, if you click on the planning tab up at the top, there's some resources there. So that's it, Audrey and Jamie, as far as our questions go. I'm going to go ahead and close this out here. I know we're about a minute or two over, but I do want to just remind everyone that we're sending an invitation via email to fill out a survey. It should be in your inbox right now. So if we didn't get to your question, or you have more, or it's more personal in nature, please indicate that on your survey, and we can connect you with the financial wellness team or any other credit union representative to help you find your answer or have that discussion that you might need. The other thing I want to highlight here is that we do have a number of other financial wellness topics available online. You probably know where to find it. It's at aacreditunion.org/events. And then the last thing I'll note here is to make sure you follow us on our social media channels, Facebook, Instagram, X, and even YouTube. That's where we post helpful financial tips, upcoming events, things of that nature. We really try not to sell through those channels, try to engage and just provide as much financial education as we can. So they definitely are worth a follow. With that said, on behalf of Audrey, Jamie, Sarah, Sutton, myself, and the entire credit union, we're hoping you have a great rest of the day, that you got some value out of this journey we went on together. Audrey, I'm going to give you the last word. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I just want to say thank you to all the attendees, and thank you for participating in the poll questions and the other outside poll questions. It's really appreciated, and just keep us in mind. Try not to stress too much about your finances. If you do, we're here for you.
Thanks, y'all. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.